Welcome back to Unfiltered Unwound. I'm your host, Gunny T. I'm joined as always by my co-host, the infamous Eric Shugrue. Eric, what's up, man?
I like being infamous. That's dope.
That was also a pretty cool game.
Yeah.
Prototype was
Sure.
better, though. But look, we're gonna dive right into this shit because you had a hot take earlier, and today, folks, we're going to be talking about the psyche of Mr. Eric Shugrue. We're going to be delving into what makes Eric Eric. But during one of our previous conversations, he brought up something, and I'd like to start there because that was a hot take. So, emotions, which you don't seem to have a whole lot of those.
I got him.
Do you? Let's dive right in there because you believe, if I heard you correctly, that human beings are either not designed to handle things through emotion or to make decisions emotionally, or you believe that they shouldn't make their decisions emotionally, correct?
So I feel that people, especially like the generations that are coming up now, that they're relying too much on their emotions to develop opinions and feel like the world should revolve around how they feel. And I don't feel like humans aren't designed to do that for real. I feel like logic should really be, the primary focus for decision making and opinion forming. But I don't really know. Something's changed.
Let me ask you this. When you say logic, are you stating logic as a generalized term as to what should be considered logic for all, or are you considering what you feel is logic? Because I think that's part of the whole me trying to figure out what makes you tick and the difference between you and, say, other people in the world.
Yeah, that's a really good question because, I really do feel, emotionally, in my own perspective of the world and how things should work, is that logic is, does it make sense? Can it be proven? Is it reasonable? I don't let my emotions fuel me or direct me in the majority of my decision making. But I mean, you're right. I live in my own little bubble, and I have my opinions that are formed by what I assume to be logic. And maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm looking at this as the same way that everybody else is looking at me, saying that, quit complaining about everything, stop crying about everything. You're going to be offended in life. There's no getting away from that. Somebody is always going to offend you, whether it's intentional or not. We shouldn't have to walk on eggshells around everybody because somebody might get upset over something that somebody else said.
That's fair. At the same time, though, during one of our previous discussions, we had discussed, I guess, the difference between, say, people like you and, well, we won't even say people like you because, I mean, everybody is different. Let's be honest. Everybody's different in their own way. But there are people that I've become increasingly aware of, I'd say probably within the last couple of years, who, which sparked this whole, interest in you in particular, but also somebody else that I care very deeply about. There are people that either are ruled 100% by logic or mostly by logic and not so much by emotion. There are people that either lack empathy completely or have lost empathy along the way somewhere. That's one of the questions I wanted to ask you, by the way, whether or not, you never had empathy or if you just found it harder and harder to empathize with people. But I wouldn't I wouldn't venture to say that you guys are the majority of people out there, but there are a whole lot of you. And so, you know, going back to that conversation that I said we had as far as just solid truth, you know, what you consider to be solid truth. And if somebody does something illogically to your mind or something that you don't think they should have done, you have a very direct way of dealing with that. And I told you that you know, your method of logic and your method of reasoning and dealing with things isn't necessarily somebody else's, or maybe not even the vast majority, but people like you get really, really frustrated when everybody else doesn't see everything the way that you do, logically, emotionally, if they don't, you know, kind of walk the path that you have. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I could agree with that. And I think that a lot of that stems from the fact that when I am faced with something that, you know, requires thought or care and like how to proceed, I don't take feelings into the equation. You know, it's like whether or not it sucks doesn't make sense.
Which kind of gives you a somewhat prickly demeanor.
Yeah, I'm a bit abrasive.
And look, I would say that it's frustrating. Look, I'm not going to lie. It's been frustrating as hell being your friend at times. And it's frustrating as hell to love the person that I love, because to me, you guys are really different than, you know, even the different that I'm accustomed to. Again, you know, stating that everybody is different, and that's okay, by the way, before all, you know, the haters come at me, bro. But I am, what would you say I am, Eric? Hyper emotional? Over emotional?
No, I would say that, I mean, your emotional level is normal. Like,
I think that my girlfriend would disagree with you.
I mean, like, you're not, you experience emotions on a daily basis, multiple emotions. And I mean, like, I feel like that's the human norm, you know, and like, I know that I don't classify as that because I mean, I feel emotion. I'm not a fucking robot. But like, you know, there's people out there that'll stub their toe and it'll ruin their whole fucking day. Or somebody will say something sideways to them and it'll just put them in a bad mood towards everybody. I don't get hung up on shit like that. Like, I'll just let it go. Like, oh yeah, dude's mad. I mean, that sucks. Like, if it's somebody I care about and they're mad at me, yeah, like, I want to fix that. But, like, I did have a friend in the past that I managed to piss off to the point where he didn't want to have anything to do with me. We went from like hanging out almost every single day to him not even wanting to hear my name in conversation. And I tried to remedy the situation and he wasn't having it. So, but I did what I felt was the logical thing to do and I dropped it, you know?
Yeah.
And now, you know, 20 years later, I'm not even allowed to apologize for it because he won't let me. Like, we'll still talk. And I mean, like, you know, last time I saw him, like, he hugged the shit out of me. But when I tried to apologize for the things that I had said, he was like, don't. It's over. It's in the past. I'm like, all right, cool. Good. We're on the same wavelength now.
Well, maybe, I don't know, maybe the way that you handled him kind of changed his perspective or changed the way that he handles things.
I mean, he did join the Marines.
I mean, yeah, that'll, I'll save that for another episode. We don't have to talk about the jarheads today. But anyway, one thing, so speaking of somebody else that I care very deeply about. One thing that drives me crazy about her is as soon as something happens, whether it was handled emotionally or not, because again, she is still capable of emotions, as are you, but just not as much as what I would see as the norm. But as soon as it happens, it's over with, and then it's done. It's forgotten. It's in the past, and if it was never brought up again, she would be 100% comfortable with that. Are you the same way?
So I grew up in a household that was more argumentative than calm, and it was one of those things where when everybody went silent, you didn't bring it back up. It was over. It was done with. You moved on with your life. And I think that I carried that as part of my personality, because even now, like, I could get into a shouting match with somebody and then, 5 or 10 minutes later be like, hey dude, you want to go get a beer? And like, normal people are still mad and I'm over it, like I don't hang on to things because I spent so much of my life being angry, and I had an epiphany at, towards the end of my teenage years that like being angry is just too much work. Like there's no reason to remain angry about anything ever. Like negative emotions are just obstacles that get in the way of, enjoying your life and other people enjoying theirs.
Huh.
Being angry never solved anything.
No, that it does not.
And that's why, like,
anger is a natural emotion.
You're not wrong. There are still things that anger me, and there are things that, like, I think back on that in my past that still anger me to this day. But like, I don't let the emotion run my life. I don't let any emotion really run my life. I mean, as long as my wife is happy, I'm happy. Now, if she's not happy, I'm typically not happy either. It's usually my fault. I'm really good at saying things that I probably shouldn't have said and should have just remained inside thoughts. But
that's another thing, man. Y'all have no brain-mouth filter whatsoever.
Well, it's like everybody treats everybody else the way they want to be treated. To an extent, there are situations where that's not the truth. But like, when I say things to people, if they were to say the same thing or something equal to me, I would be okay with it. So, like, some people get upset when they're made fun of.
Yeah.
Like, it hurts, especially like if a friend is just roasting the shit out of you. And to make it even worse, like just in front of people, people you don't even know, people you have known for years, it doesn't matter. The audience doesn't matter. But like if somebody that you're really close with is just making fun of you in public, like most people would get upset. I think it's fucking hilarious. I can 100% laugh at myself about everything that I've done and everything that is wrong with me, because I'm not fucking perfect. I've got a friend that I've been friends with since I was 12 years old, and this dude will rag the absolute shit out of me. So I don't have a very lazy eye, but I do have an eye that will wander a little bit from time to time. For 3 years, that dude called me Eagle Eye.
Jesus wept.
And I think it is the funniest thing. And, like, I love it. And, like, so when I run into people that aren't him and, like, I treat people the way he treats me, some people don't like that. But I've had to explain to several people in my life that if I'm not making fun of you or talking shit to you, I don't like you.
That's fair.
And that's just the way it is. Like,
but then again, you know, going back to everybody being different and processing things differently and stuff like that. I mean, I can understand. You be saying some mean shit sometimes, Eric. I ain't gonna lie.
but I think that over the past 14 to 15 years that we've known each other, you understand that doesn't come from a mean place.
Oh yeah, absolutely. But it took a while to get there. When I first met you, you know, I thought you were a prick. I mean, I liked you instantly, but I was like, this arrogant son of a bitch. You know? It took a couple of years before I was like, oh, that's just him.
Yeah, I've definitely lived my blatant asshole years. I feel like I've dialed back a lot when it comes to dealing with new people. I don't come in as strongly now when I first meet people as I used to.
Well, that's probably a good thing. But I'm gonna bring this in a circle back to one of my original questions. As far as empathy goes, did you never have it, or did you lose it along the way?
So, I mean, I guess that really depends on what your definition of empathy is. I know that there is a concrete definition of empathy, and like, I've been in situations where people have have been, just crying and come up to me and, I'm compassionate, like I see you're hurting. Like I'll give you a hug. I'll let you cry. You want to talk about it? We can talk about it. But I don't relate unless it's a similar situation that I've been in. But like, if someone next to me is sad about something that's happening in their life, it doesn't make me sad. I don't feel sad for them. I understand they're dealing with an emotion. Like, other people's emotions do not affect me. And that's good in some situations and it's bad in others. Like, I don't pick, unless you tell me what you're feeling or your body language is strongly suggesting that you're feeling something, I have no idea. I don't get it. It doesn't make sense. Like, I can tell when somebody wants to fight, and I can tell when someone's sad. But,
those are really your two base emotions you can pick up on.
Yeah. Well, typically there's a lot of body language, in both of those things that are easy to pick up on.
Somebody's throwing something at you or their hands are around your throat. They're angry,
Yes, and I've been in situations where I had no idea somebody was angry at me, and then the next thing I know, I get fucking hit in the face. And, was it something I said? Because I would have been cool with everything that I said.
Look, you kicked me while I was down, okay?
The judge said he didn't see contact. I had to get my point, man. It didn't change the fact that you sent me to the fucking shadow realm, and I forgot what my name was for a minute.
Man, cause and consequence,
All I know is that grass was pokey.
Yeah, it was. So you're not saying that you've never had empathy. You're not even saying that you don't have empathy. You have a small amount of empathy, but only through shared experiences.
Yeah, I could agree with that. And like I said, It's not that, and I think that my lack of empathy, I make up for it with the amount of compassion that I do have for the people that I care about. Like, if I don't care about you personally, I really don't give a shit about what you're going through. And I know that's kind of mean, but that's just the way my brain is wired. Like, I don't mean anything by it. But if I was surrounded by a group of people that were crying over a shared experience and I didn't know, who they were or what the problem was, like, it's not going to make me feel sad.
Fucking robot. Well, let's go back to, all right, say somebody makes a mistake, right? And this is something that I did want to mention earlier. I wanted us to talk about, and I want to do a little exercise with you.
All right.
But one thing that you do when it comes to somebody else not doing something logically or your view on logic, people like you like to tell it how they think that it is. And y'all are very cutthroat about it. Y'all are very direct to the point, And that goes both with logic and empathy. So I'm gonna run some exercises with you, okay? So you got a buddy, right? And he walks up to you and he says, "Eric, my mother just passed." How do you handle that?
I'm going to give you a fucking hug, dude. You want to talk about it? You want to reminisce about mom? Dude, there's not... Growing up, I did not have a single friend growing up whose mom was not also my mom. Like, the first time I meet your mom, she's getting a hug, and I'm calling her mom from day one, Like, so if a friend comes up to me and says that their mom died, yeah, dude, like, I'm going to throw some compassionate arms around you and, let you do whatever you got to do. You want to, I am definitely more of the let's get your mind off of it type person. So, like, which is typically what I tell people that, like, if you're going to come to me, you need to be upfront about what you want. Because if you want to, dwell on what you're dealing with, then we can do that. But if you're just wanting to get your mind off of it, I got you with that too.
That's fair. At least you give them that blanket. I wouldn't even call it a warning, that blanket statement, hey, tell me what you need from me. Not everybody does that.
Yeah.
But, okay, different scenario. So your buddy comes up to you and says, "Man, my girlfriend cheated on me for the third time, but she said that she's sorry, and I'm gonna try to work things out with her."
So that's where logic comes into play, though, because, like, I need to know before I formulate an opinion. I need to know more about that relationship. Is it a good relationship besides the fact that she's swaying a little bit? Because people make mistakes.
That's fair. Okay,
And
the relationship is absolutely toxic, and she is horrible for him. She's using him, she's taking him for a ride, and she's seeing everybody else except for him unless she needs something.
I've been telling him since the day that they met. You need to drop that. One of the things that I am really good at is I'm an excellent judge of character, and it does not take me any time at all to evaluate the character of a person I'm meeting. I could probably count on a quadruple amputee's fingers the amount of times that I've been wrong about a person.
Eric, what the fuck? Well, they still got one digit you didn't think about.
Well, if they're calling that their finger, then,
I mean, if they're a quadruple fucking amputee, then that, that's all they got. But, okay, fair enough. You feel like you're an excellent judge of character. But that was, you dumbed it down for the episode, I think. As a matter of fact, your good buddy Gunny has come to you with some shit in the past, and you have said this statement, and I quote, "Gunny, why are you so fucking stupid sometimes?" Now, the whole point of this exercise was to get a couple of different scenarios and see how you would handle them. Now, in a situation like that, you should have dropped her the day, you you met her or, why are you so fucking stupid? What do you feel like would be a more even keel response to that?
I mean, so you want me to address this with like kid gloves and sugarcoat it?
Yeah, I was waiting. I want you to go into the sugarcoat conversation
Okay.
that we had earlier.
I would probably, if I was held at gunpoint and told to sugarcoat something, which is probably the only time I'd ever do it, I'd be like, hey, I know that you're wrapped up and you're seeing things through rose-tinted glasses, like, but I don't think this is it, man. And I may be
you
wrong.
would hate every second of that, wouldn't you?
It's really hard to get those words out, dude.
So, explain to me your philosophy on the whole sugarcoating thing and why you feel like it's better to be so cutthroat and direct.
It's a waste of time. Like,
But whose time are you wasting? Yours, theirs, both?
I mean, like, in all fairness, if I have to come up to somebody and be blunt with them, the only person's time that's being wasted are the individuals that are involved in whatever the scenario is. You're not wasting my time at all. Because even if I'm blunt about something, that doesn't mean the person I'm talking to is going to pick up when I'm putting down the first time that I say it. Like, so we're going to have this conversation several times. And I'm not the type of person to go around and, go up to everybody and be like, I told you so, because I don't take pleasure in being correct in shitty situations. But I'm going to be honest with you and everybody. There's no point in lying. Like, I think that my sister stole all the lying genes because that's all she does is fucking lie.
Well, I get what you're saying, but I don't consider it, and again, my girlfriend would disagree with me on this one too, because she's like you, but I don't consider it lying to be tactful about the way that you handle a situation with another person. Don't sit there and say, oh man, I bet she's sorry, or oh man, I bet he didn't mean to run around with your sister, or something like that. That would be a lie. That would be an over-exaggeration of the truth. But to tactfully tell somebody, hey, I think you're fucking up, or hey, you deserve better than this, or, hey, whatever the situation is, I don't feel like that's such a bad thing. And I mean, I get that y'all feel like, you're wasting time by not being completely direct. And it might even irritate you to not be as direct as possible because you don't have time for bullshit and you like to cut to the chase. And I get that. But that goes back to, me trying to understand y'all better because not everybody handles everything the same way. Not everybody handles the way that y'all do. They don't see the world through the lens that y'all do. And so being that direct might actually be, I don't want to say bad for that person, but maybe they don't know how to handle that, or that's, they don't know how to process the information when it's so raw, It's like plutonium when it's pulled out of the earth and it's not been, contained and turned into weapons grade. Does that make sense?
No.
There you go with your fucking logic again.
I think about it. Like let's say that an unidentified person, right, is going to an oncologist because they had a biopsy done because, hey, we just want to check it out. And they go see this oncologist, they sit down in the chair, and the doctor's just talking about their fucking day. The doctor's like, you've lived a good life, you've done a lot of good things, you seem like a really nice person, and I think you're going to do a whole lot later on in life. And then, and you're giving this person false hope that maybe this is a good news meeting instead of sitting down and being like, look, dude, it's cancer. Here's the path forward. I feel like hitting it running in the beginning is much better than stalling and,
Okay.
hoping that the other person figures it out along the way.
Okay, I'm willing to give a little ground here. I think that there are extenuating circumstances, such as a doctor's office where you're about to get terrible news or something like that. No, I don't want that kind of shit sugar-coated. And you don't have to put on kid gloves either, I just feel like there's better ways to word things. But the whole reason that I marvel at you and people like you is because I don't think y'all know how. It's not even just, not wanting to or feeling like it's a waste of time. Because, you just gave a scenario where you could, but, you even mentioned in that scenario that if somebody had a gun to my head.
Yeah.
So I think it causes y'all physical pain not to be the way that you are. And I'm interested in that. I'm interested in what makes y'all tick, because I have to coexist with you motherfuckers,
And I'm going to disagree with you. It's not a pain thing for me. It's definitely people that, I'm going to be more blunt with people that I care about than people that I don't care about, And
so
I'm not going to sugarcoat something.
I got you.
I'm not going to sugarcoat something because I feel like I said earlier, like you're giving that person an out. You're giving them false hope. That, yeah, I may not agree with what you're doing, but that doesn't make it wrong. But if I'm blunt and I tell you straight up, then in my mind, I am relieving you of a lot of potential pain that you're going to have to endure.
That might be the first time that you've found a way to say that where I really understand it, and it actually gave me pause. Giving them an out.
Sometimes there's a nugget in there that's worth a little bit of money.
Well, you're not wrong about this. Maybe in my quest to, as you say, sugarcoat things, to try to be more tactful and be more, I guess, emotionally balanced with my friends, and not, send them over the edge, or, hurt their feelings or something like that. I wasn't really helping them.
And cause, I attack these situations in the way that I want my situations to be attacked. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I've been in too many situations where I thought what I was doing was the right thing until it became a problem. And then realized I've been fucking up this whole time. Why didn't anybody try to stop me? And then, you think back to those friends that did try to stop you, but they were really subtle about it. And you were like, then you start picking up all those hints. And it's like, oh, shit, that's what he was talking about. That's what they were talking about. That's what she was talking about.
That's what you mean by wasting time, when you wish they would have just given it to you straight.
Yeah, my ex-fiance, when I was much younger than I am now, dude, if the friends that I had would have been as sharp with me as I've grown to be, then I would have alleviated myself of a massive load of heartache and humiliation.
But would you have? That's really the question. That's another thing that, whether somebody, because you and Rachel and Tyrone and, so many people that and you're aware of have been absolutely straight with me and very cutthroat about things. But it also depends on the person and whether or not they're ready to listen, whether or not they want to listen.
I definitely agree with you there, 100%. Because, like what you said, would I have changed something had they been blunt with me? Probably not, because I wasn't there for it. I wasn't listening to it. and I should have been. But that's one of the reasons that I'm so blunt with people, is just that, say what you mean, and tell me exactly what you mean. Don't try to, don't try to season my chicken.
Can't nobody season my chicken but me.
Yeah, right. Don't come in here and start dumping shit in my marinade on my steaks, man. Like, I got this. Like, I know what I'm doing. And in all reality, I'm pouring fucking, Dr. Pepper and soy sauce on steak.
Yeah. Unless good old Gunny comes over for dinner, and then you don't even marinate his steaks, and then you make the good steaks after he leaves. I see how it is. It's all good.
Look, I was rushed, all right? I seasoned the motherfuckers. I just didn't have time to marinate them.
But, that's an interesting take, and you give me a lot to think about, especially on that. But I do want to bring it back around to the very beginning about the logic part of this, because you said something earlier today that I found extremely interesting, and I think our listeners will find it interesting too. As far as your ideas about human nature and emotions and logic, you had a hot take that I'd like you to explain now to the listeners.
Are you talking about
evolution?
Autism?
Yes.
Yes. I firmly believe that autism is the next step in human evolution. I believe that at the moment it's very raw and it's unpredictable because of the stage that it's in. But I think that nature is teaching us to stop being so emotional and letting emotions run our lives. There's a lot of situations. It's not always, personal. Sometimes it's political. Sometimes it's, at work, at school, where, we think things should be a specific way because of how we feel, not because of how things need to be. And we let those emotions dictate how we deal with other people, how we deal with ourselves, our outlook on life, and it's detrimental to us as a species. So this goes across the entire globe. This isn't local, even though it does happen locally, no matter where you are. As a nation right now, we are divided on so many fronts based purely on emotion and opinions that we've come to possess because of those emotions. Like you had brought up that.
Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
But you brought up that, like, there are animals that show emotion, but those animals are domesticated. And it's not just like, oh yeah, well, we pulled him out of the woods and now he's our pet dog. I mean, like, this is generational adaptation of learning these behaviors.
Well,
like,
when I said that, I wasn't necessarily talking about domesticated or even, zoo animals or anything like that. What I meant was, you see many instances of, let's use lions, for instance. And you kind of, I guess, kind of battered at what I was trying to get at with, talking about territory and being territorial. So you could be right about that. But I've seen a lot of videos of, say hyenas attacking one of the lionesses in a pride, and then the male lion coming and just beating the shit out of the hyenas to get them away from the female lion. Or, I've seen, lionesses protecting the cubs and things like that. What are these if not emotions?
I mean, they're instincts. Like,
you don't think that emotion factors into it at all?
No, I think that, like, every species on this planet has one primal instinct, and that is two survival instincts, really. And that's to survive and to procreate.
Yeah.
And like when a mom animal defends their children, that's, you know, procreation. When a male lion defends a female lion, I mean, that's, I need this animal to procreate in order for our species to survive. Now, if you look at lions, male lions don't pick one female lion to be with for the rest of their lives.
That's fair.
There's very few animals that we're aware of that do that, and like I think it's like penguins and lobsters are the only two.
Otters.
Otters. Okay. Yeah, you're right. I have heard that.
Yeah.
Like they'll actually hold hands to keep each other floating when they're sleeping.
Emotions, yeah. Eric.
But I mean, like we call it emotion, but really, like it's what is it called? I don't remember what it's called, but it's definitely a codependency that they know that they need each other in order to survive and procreate. Because one otter by themselves is, you know, defenseless against predators. You get a whole group of otters together, and it's the slowest otter that gets eaten.
Slowest otter. I don't know, man. I've seen some videos of a group of otters taking down much larger animals. Things can be pretty vicious. But
I'm not saying that doesn't happen.
I guess my whole point was, I feel like there is emotion present in the animal kingdom, the wild animal kingdom, and what are we if not animals, you know? But I do see what you're saying, you know, maybe it's programmed, maybe it's instinct, as you said, maybe it's territory. But taking it back, what is the connection that you see between autism and logic?
So when you see like autistic children and even adults, no matter where they fall on the spectrum, there's always something that is the most important thing, like whether it's organization, specific colors, sounds, you know, what have you. Like, I'm not very well versed in all of the spectrums of autism. I'm not going to pretend that I am. Right. But if you take that thing and you change it, they don't know how to process that. I mean, they get angry, they get, you know, sad, they get like they're so confused that they lash out in any way that they know, because you took the one logical thing in their life and you made it illogical.
But outside of that one thing, would you say that they proceed in their everyday life with logic rather than emotion until that one cog is thrown in the wheel?
And like that's really where they fall on, like where they fall on the spectrum, you know, like there are some people with autism that if it's not, you know, by the book logical, then you just threw a wrench in their whole system.
Right.
But then there's other like much higher functioning autistic people with autism. I don't know if autistics is the correct plural term, that can deal with things to an extent. But it all comes down to the individual, which is why, like I'm saying, that, you know, the way that I process information and the way that I deal with people is my way. It doesn't make it the correct way. It doesn't make it better than somebody else. But when you put me in a room with somebody that you know, processes more with emotion, we're going to clash.
As we often do.
And it's not, it doesn't come from, a negative space. That's just what happens. And like, that's the thing that I love about our relationship is that we disagree about so many things. But at no point have those disagreements ended a conversation or ended a fucking friendship. Like, there's some people where, like, you got, like, pro and anti-abortion people that used to be friends, but then when they realize that they stand on different sides of that fence, refuse to speak to each other. And it's like,
wild to me.
We can definitely disagree on anything and still be friends. We're not going to agree on everything. I mean, me and my wife don't even agree on everything. And we've been married for coming up on 15 years. But, she is my home, and I love her with every ounce of my being. And, we get on each other's fucking nerves because, we don't agree on everything.
Well, that's one thing that I think one of the best things that my dad ever taught me. And, I mean, he taught me a lot of things. And he wasn't a perfect man. He was definitely flawed. But you don't give up on people you love. You don't cast them aside. Even if you disagree, even if, you could have nothing in common. But, I mean, if you love that person, you don't cast them aside for any reason. And, as far as me and you are concerned, I mean, you're one of the best fucking people I've ever known. You and Donna, a very, very few select other people have really shown me what true friendship and true love is about. Because, I mean, y'all haven't just stood with me when I've been at my best. Y'all were always there at my worst, at my lowest points. And
I feel like that's when it's most important.
Yes. That's when you gauge the true character of a person.
Yeah.
When you're at your lowest, that's when you really see, I guess, the quality of the people that you've surrounded yourself with.
I agree.
You don't just cast them aside when things get hard. You don't just cast them aside when you disagree. It doesn't matter what you disagree on. What was it? This was, 9 years ago. The fucking Iron Bowl in Alabama. And for anybody that might be listening to our podcast in a different state, I'm sure every state has their great rivalries. For us in North Carolina, it's Duke and North Carolina. For Alabama, it's Auburn and Alabama. They call it the Iron Bowl. And these guys were brothers. I mean, born to the same mother and father, grew up together, had been brothers their whole lives. And it was the year that Cam Newton beat Alabama in the Iron Bowl. And the brother that was the Alabama fan shot the Auburn fan and killed him. Over a disagreement. Over, his team didn't win.
Yeah, and Alabama fans are the worst. I'm an Auburn fan.
You're going to lose some fans, man. Roll Tide. Roll Tide and War Damn Eagle, We'll war both of them. But no, just, you saying that about me and you and our ability to disagree and still remain friends or still even carry on a conversation, that's whether somebody is like you or like me or like anybody else. I think that's one thing that needs to be universal is just the ability to have a conversation and agree to disagree and move on about your fucking life.
Right. I mean, there's not a single opinion that anybody can formulate that means enough to end any type of relationship.
Dragon Ball Evolution is trash.
Shut the fuck up, dude. I love that movie. It's good. It's good for what it is.
You get to it, though. Every time I say that, you're like, do I really need this motherfucker in my life?
Yeah, I did see something today, slightly off topic, but you brought up a topic where Elijah Wood was asked if he could get rid of any movie that's been made, what movie would it be? And this motherfucker came out and said, Tim Burton's Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. He said that typically with a remake, you know, there's something added or something that's made better. But in that instance, all they did was destroy that book.
You know, I can't say that I disagree with Mr. Wood.
Not a fan.
Yeah. Well, I don't feel like I completely understand you yet, but I feel like we've made some headway and some progress into the psyche of one Mr. Eric Shugrue. But I also see that we're running a little long. Did you want to hit the other topic, or do you want to save that for another episode?
Yeah, I'm here if you're here.
Hey, man. All right, let's roll with it. So,
If you're a bird, I'm a bird.
well, I think we've discovered that you're a tiger and I'm an otter. So, but one thing that me and you have many discussions about that I wanted to bring on the podcast, because I feel like everybody has this conversation with their friends or their family, and everybody has their own plans when it comes to this. But the lottery, you know, most of us are never ever going to win it. You know, the odds of winning it are so infinitesimal, it's ridiculous. But everybody knows what they want to do if they win the lottery. And you've had some interesting thoughts on that, so I'll let you take the floor from here. If you won the lottery, and let's just say right now it's up to like $444 million for the mega and like $386 million for the power, what would you do with that money?
You know, I love speculating what I would do. But in all fairness, if I had the winning ticket in my hand, I honestly don't know what the hell I would do. But end goal would definitely just, I'd have to develop some kind of a hobby. Something that wasn't very, like, you know, time demanding, that I could just do on my own time whenever I felt like doing it. I'd travel. I would definitely buy a nice minivan to travel in.
You and them fucking minivans, man.
Dude, I disagree with the stigma, man. Like, I bought a minivan several years ago, and I loved it. It was crazy cool. The sound system in it was immaculate. Baby Shark never hit so hard.
That sounds swell. Golly gee willikers, buddy.
And then when I went down to Florida last year, we rented a van, and dude, it was amazing, man. Like why do minivans get so much hate? I think that they're dope.
I don't know, man. Maybe because not everybody's a soccer mom, but I digress.
You know.
So anyway, back on topic. You know, you're saying a lot of things, and I feel you. But I really wanted to hear about the compound, Jim Jones.
It's not a compound.
You know, you made it sound like you were starting a cult and you were going to buy the robe and everything. You know? My children are never going to leave. I'm going to build a compound. There's going to be guards.
I'm just saying that, like, you know, when you look at like the really successful families, and not just, you know, the old money, but like when you look at families where every generation that you're spitting out successful children, like those are the types of families where you never hear I can't wait till they're 18. When they're 18, they're out the door. You know, they keep their family close, and I would love to buy like a large plot of land and build, you know, 3 houses, one for each of my daughters and then one for me and my wife, so that, you know, they live, you know, they don't have to wonder what they're going to do. You know, like me and my wife, we are doing our best to be successful so that there is a clear path to our children's success. And kicking them out the door at 18, or, you know, telling them, oh, well, you're 18, it's time for you to get a job. You know, like, what, your brain doesn't even stop developing until you're in your mid-20s. And you're telling a 17-year-old you need to figure out what you're going to do with the rest of your life. That is the most wage slave mentality that you can have. Like, my oldest is 13, and she keeps talking about wanting a job just so that she can have money. And, like, you know, I offer her money all the time just to do chores around the house. I offer her a lot more money in allowance a week than my parents ever offered me. And, you know, when she doesn't do it, I'm like, do you think that if you had a job and they told you, hey, go do this, and you were like, I don't really feel like it right now, that you're going to keep that job? Like, but, like, I feel like they're always going to be my children, and I'm always going to feel responsible for them. And I feel like them having that safety net will help them on a road to success a lot more than just throwing them in the ocean and telling them to sink or swim.
Yeah, that's fair.
Because I learned a lot of really good things growing up. You know, my stepdad taught me that if you're going to do something, do it right the first time, because if you have to come back and do it again, you're probably not going to get paid for it.
Huh.
So, I mean, that's the attitude that I go at with everything that I do with everything in life, is to make sure that, you know, if I'm going to do something, I'm going to do it right, no matter how long it takes. I don't care if I told you it's going to take me an hour. If it takes me 3 days, it takes me 3 days. But it's going to be right when I'm done.
That's fair. But, so the compound. I feel hyperventilated again. God damn it, Gunny, I just explained it to you.
It's just a place for my family to live.
So what you're saying is you want to build a bunch of houses. I wouldn't say closely together, but close enough to where y'all could walk to each other's houses.
Yeah.
And y'all just live there comfortably, you know, as a little family in your compound.
I mean, that's if I don't buy an island.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
Now, if I buy an island...
Nobody can get us here.
Exactly. I think that I would buy an island, right? And I would set up, like, a safe house for battered men.
You have a bunker under that motherfucker?
Because they exist. There are definitely men out there that are victims of domestic violence that, you know, it's not okay in society for men to come out and say, hey, she whooped my ass. She keeps whooping my ass. I need help. And there's no program. Like,
right.
You see, like, you know, domestic violence foundations and stuff, and they only take in women and children. And because there's so many women and children, they don't take men because, you know, if you stop and think about it, most men are fucking assholes. Most men are pieces of shit.
That is a fair assessment.
But you alienate the ones that aren't because you lump them all into the same group as the ones that are. And because of that, you know, you can't just go and get help. Nobody wants to help a struggling man. So, you know, my little island, you know, you come and you stay in my little island, you work my little island fields, you know, you get to enjoy the tropical island. You know, it's not slave labor, you know, like, you just, we all do a little bit, you know, I'll be out there too. I'm not going to have.
You know, I hope not. There's another little island that I can think of that, you know, we don't need any repeats. That's terrible. I'm going to hell for that joke.
You know, I hate farming, so, you know, we can just strike the whole fields thing out of there because that's not going to fucking happen. We're going to have palm trees and coconuts. Like,
have a bunch of
and we hope that nature takes
coconuts, huh?
Nature hopefully takes care of all that for us. No, I had a negative experience with cows, and I ain't dealing with that shit again.
So what would be your impulse buy with lottery money? Everybody's got to have one impulse buy.
You know, like, I've gotten to the point in my life where, like, I'm so fucking rational about everything.
Fucking logic.
Like, I really don't know, you know, like, that's such a crazy question to me right now because, like, I don't even know what the fuck I would buy.
I know exactly what my first, and I say first because there would probably be several, but my first impulse buy would be. You know, you want to know what it is? A 1969 Shelby Mustang GT500 with a 428 cubic inch, 7.0 liter Cobra Jet V8 engine.
Man.
It would be silver with black racing stripes.
It's a cool car.
That's my
It's
impulse
a super
buy.
cool car. But I really feel like if I was just gonna blow a ton of fucking money on a car, that I would get like something exotic, you know?
Oh, there's definitely exotics in there, believe you me. But what would your exotic of choice be?
I mean, I would definitely track down a fucking Countach. And I would never drive that piece of shit, but I would own one.
Would it be the one with the wing or without the wing?
Oh, definitely with. Like, but it really wouldn't matter because it's never going to get fucking used because those cars were fucking trash. But they're so cool. They're so iconic.
Well, I mean, if you're going to go for trash iconic cars, why not a DeLorean, you know?
I mean, I'd buy one of those too, I guess. I don't give a fuck.
Hell yeah, we need that fucking 3.7 gigawatts. All right. So we got the island for battered men. We got the compound for the cult family. We got the minivan for the cross country touring. Is that all you got, or?
I'll probably buy an F-16.
Hell yeah. There you go. There's your impulse buy. You can hire Tom Cruise to fly it for you.
He's not tall enough to fly them.
Tom Cruise, he's just kidding. Come on the show.
I would definitely buy my dad a 71 Cuda fully restored.
Oh my God. Hell yes. Now we're talking.
And I'm pretty sure that I could buy his old one because he said that it's somebody he was friends with in Shreveport, Louisiana still has it.
Yeah, you were telling me about that. you were talking about finding a picture so I could see it.
I think I sent you a picture of him and my mom standing in front of it.
Oh yeah, I think you did. Yeah. Okay, my apologies. I forget shit, you know.
My dad was one of those guys that bought clothes to match his car.
You know, that's normally a female trait.
Like he
The
wore
matching
Cuda shirts.
lipstick too, like.
Like those guys that buy Corvettes and they wear like Corvette shirts everywhere. They're like, yeah, I have a Corvette.
Insufferable Corvette golf dads, those guys.
Yeah.
I'll see you at the club, Terry.
Oh, I've never driven this over 70 miles an hour.
Fuck's the point in having a Corvette if you're not going to drive it at 130 at least?
That's my big thing. Like, I don't understand people that buy like these supercars and like these souped up like stock domestic cars so that they can drive it back and forth to work. Like, it's like buying a big ass dually truck, but you live in a suburb. What are you doing with that? Like, there's no reason.
Obviously.
Yeah, like, I just had the money to blow. Like, I mean, that's cool too, I guess. But I mean, like, you know, buy something cooler. Buy, you know, I don't know, like a Porsche SUV. You know, like, buy a fucking, you know, like a fucking ludicrous Tesla XV, you know, or a Series D. You know, like with the Falcon doors and the biohazard mode in it. With the 99.9% HEPA air filter.
Hell yeah.
Like, I buy a Cybertruck. I don't know, dude.
Oh God, no, not a fucking. Come on, man.
Well, dude, the prototypes of those Cybertrucks were dope as fuck, but when they started mass producing them, they were garbage.
I don't even want to talk about Cybertruck. It hurts my heart and my soul. Okay, so if I won the lottery, you already heard my impulse buy. But one of the first things I would do, I would start looking for land, and I would buy a really nice patch of land. Probably not a huge patch. I'd say maybe 40 or 50 acres, something big enough to build a decent sized home on it. So I would let Miss Rachel pretty much design her own dream home. I would just have a few, you know, things that I would want to add to the home itself. But separate from the home, but on the same property, I would build a dojo. And I would start teaching out of that dojo again, probably as my primary source of income. Because, I mean, you know, if you make smart enough investments, that's generational wealth, you know. So I wouldn't necessarily need the money, but teaching is something that I've always loved, and I think I could be happy doing it for the rest of my life. I would absolutely make sure that the very, very small circle of people that I still have and still care about and I know care about me were good, you know, had everything that they needed, maybe help them start some businesses or pay off some debts, you know, maybe help them buy some homes, things like that. I would buy Rachel her Jeep and her Camaro because she wants one of both. Of course, I would get my Shelby Mustang. That would be the first thing that I would get. I would either get a Jeep Gladiator or a Toyota Tundra, maybe both. I mean, depending on how much money the lottery was. I'd get an RV to do the same thing that you're going to do in your minivan, but a little bit more comfortably, you know.
Only when you're parked.
Well, that's when you get one and you buy like a small, maybe a smaller like Jeep or, you know, maybe a Range Rover if you really want to do it in style with a little refrigerator as your center console. And you park and then you drive around and visit things. But
but see, all the money that I save buying a minivan versus buying an RV, I can put my family up in nice 5-star hotels everywhere I go.
Look, I didn't shit all over your lottery. what I'm talking about, Eric. This is why we can't have nice things.
Okay.
But yeah, definitely tour the country. I would want to see all of the sites that I pass on a fairly daily basis, but never get to visit. Of course, I'd set all my kids up for college. If they wanted to go. I wouldn't make it a forced thing, but I would want them to all go to college. That's an experience I never did, and to be honest, I regret it. But I would donate to a few charities, but I would do research. Or wait, you had a good idea, wasn't it? Wasn't it you that said to found a charity?
Oh no, I think charities are fucking awful.
Yeah, I mean that's the thing. Unless you find the right one, or and I can't remember who it was now that told me that I should just, if I ever won the lottery, to found a charity. That way, I would know that the money was going where it was supposed to be going.
Yeah.
But I thought that was a good idea. I thought it came from you because you do have some good ideas every once in a while. But yeah, man.
I wouldn't want to give myself more work.
I think for me, the lottery would be more about making sure that me and mine and the people that I cared about were set up and they didn't have to worry or want for anything, because I've come from a poor and struggling background. So, I also think that a lot of people, you hear all these horror stories about the lottery and how it changes people and how, people blow all their money. And I would like to think that wouldn't happen to me. It is a fear, but I also feel like the way that I was raised, I'd be, other than a few impulse buys, I feel like I've learned enough to be careful with it,
And that's one of those things, like, if I was to win, the first thing that I would do after cashing the big check is 90% goes into a savings account. And that 90% will compound interest on top of paying off any taxes that I'm going to owe on that lump sum. Because a lot of people forget about that you do have to pay taxes on that, and it's a lot.
Yeah.
And then, I mean, even that, so you're saying 440 million, I'm still sitting on 44 million in my checking account.
Yeah.
And like, I've done the math and I've looked at a lot of the stuff that I wanted to do when I won the lottery, and $44 million, everything I want to do is a drop in the fucking bucket. That's why, like with your dojo, I would definitely have a hobby, because I would know that I'm going to get fucking bored, And like, you can only travel so much before you're tired of traveling and you just want to go home.
That is very true. It's also nothing like, especially if you've taken a trip somewhere far, or like say you've gone to the beach for a week and the sun's been baking you, you've been walking around the boardwalk and the beach, and there's just nothing like coming home, walking
Right.
into an air-conditioned house where you feel the most comfortable, where, you lay down in your bed, you take a shower in your shower. I mean, that's one of the best feelings in the world.
So you just drop a couple $1 million on a condo on the beach, and then you always got a place to stay at the beach.
Yeah, that was another thing that I wanted to add to mine. I would have a home in the mountains somewhere. I would have a home at the beach somewhere. I know, you hate mountains. But, and then I would have our home, like our main home, I guess, our base of operations, so to speak. But, yeah, definitely have other homes elsewhere where we could feel at home while we're visiting a place.
I
also want to travel the world, but, no, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Right. I've also learned that, like, the house that I move into, even if I had unlimited money, it would still be a small house.
Yeah.
Like, I definitely don't want a fucking mansion. I mean, to me, I'm not going to spend enough time in all those fucking rooms to
like to necessitate them being there. And the upkeep on something like that is ridiculous. Like, you'd spend more money keeping it up and having somebody, you know, like maintain your grounds and keep your house clean, than you're making. Like, you're just hemorrhaging
Is that a
money
cat?
in this situation.
I'm so sorry, Eric. I've never seen this before in my 9 years of trucking. I've seen a truck cat, but I've never seen a trucker get out of his truck and walk his cat.
Oh, why not? I would.
And there's no leash. He's just walking around this rest area with this cat. The cat's just like a dog, you know, just walking around like, what's this? What's that? Let me sniff this. That is amazing. I'm so sorry. I probably threw off the whole groove of our fucking episode. This guy is walking his cat.
No, dude, that's what podcasts are all about, man.
Dude, that was the greatest thing that I've seen out here. And he and the cat crawled up underneath his rig. Like, because I looked to the left and I saw, like, shadows and shit. And I was like, something's moving under that guy's fucking truck. And then here comes a cat. And I was like, oh, shit, it's a cat. I bet it's a stray. And then he comes up walking behind it. I was like, what the fuck? Oh, is that a cat? Yeah, man, it's my cat. Alrighty, I feel like that's a pretty good note to end it on. What do you think?
I would agree.
All right. Everybody, if y'all would, like and subscribe, definitely leave a comment. Anything that you guys want us to talk about, we're still open to suggestions and ideas. We are on YouTube and Spotify. You can also find us on Facebook at Unfiltered Unwound for all three platforms. You can find me on most social medias at Douglas Gunny Terrell or Lost Fox. And where can they find you, Eric, if they want to contact you?
I'm on Facebook.
Alrighty, that was dope. That was solid gold. You can't get much better than that. Well, everybody, remember what I always say. Lottery tickets cost money, but do you know what's free? To not be a piece of shit. We'll see you next time.